The crystal chandeliers of the Four Seasons Hotel in New York sparkled, reflecting off the elegant evening gowns and sparkling champagne glasses. I, Amelia Mia Vance, founder and CEO of Artisan Bloom Collective, an online empire that is changing the way the world views and approaches sustainable craftsmanship, stood in the center of the ballroom smiling as I welcomed the distinguished guests to my company's annual charity gala. Politicians, Hollywood stars, financiers, famous artists, all were there creating an atmosphere of solemnity and power. Amidst the hustle and bustle, my eyes suddenly stopped on a group of people standing in a hidden corner, looking a little out of place but trying to attract my attention. My parents, George and Linda Vance, and next to them was Uncle John Vance, my father's eldest brother who had been a powerful voice in the Vance family. With them were a few aunts and uncles whom I had not seen for nearly 15 years. Their faces no longer had the stern, judgmental look of the past, but instead were cheerful, a somewhat forced smile, and a calculating look in their eyes. The Vance family. The people who had gathered in the cozy but oppressive living room of my grandmother's house on a fateful Sunday afternoon, loudly declaring that I, Amelia Vance, was a disgrace to the family, a thoughtless runaway daughter, simply because I had dared to reject the prestigious university path that they had laid out for every child in the family. They had disowned me, treated me like air, excluded me from all the fun and events of the family. Now when this runaway granddaughter had become a self-made millionaire, a famous businesswoman who could bring them fame and perhaps practical benefits, they appeared in droves competing to take it back, trying to prove that I was the precious gem, the pride of the Vance family. Life is truly a stage with unexpected and ironic plays. The Vance family was a New England family, a long-standing tradition that prided itself on conservative values and academic achievement. We lived in a quaint little town in Connecticut, where getting into an Ivy League college, earning a bachelor's or master's degree, and landing a stable and prestigious job as a doctor, lawyer, or engineer was considered a measure of success and a source of pride for the family. Any deviation from that golden path was considered unusual, even shameful. I, Amelia, or as everyone affectionately calls me, Mia, was 18 years old at the time, having just graduated from high school. I was a smart, energetic girl, but had a different passion compared to other children in my family. I did not dream of ancient university lecture halls, but was fascinated by the beauty of exquisite handicrafts, by the ingenuity of local artisans, potters, weavers, woodcarvers, who were silently preserving traditional cultural values day and night, but faced many difficulties in finding markets and promoting their products. I saw a huge potential in connecting these talented artisans with the wider world outside through a modern and innovative online platform. So after receiving acceptance letters from a few pretty good colleges, though not the Ivy League ones my family had hoped for, I made a decision that shocked everyone: I would not go to college. Instead, I wanted to spend my time, effort, and the little savings I had from my side job to start my own business, an online platform called Artisan Bloom Collective, with the mission of celebrating and developing local artisanal art. My decision was a bombshell in the Vance family, which had always valued the standard and traditional path of education. My parents, George and Linda Vance, were the first to protest. They were disappointed, angry, and ashamed. "Mia, are you crazy?" my father shouted at a tense family dinner. "What are you going to do for a living if you don't go to college? Are you going to sell your junk at the flea market? Do you know what you're bringing shame on us and our family?" My mother cried and tried to convince me to change my mind. "Son, listen to me, go to college and get a stable job after graduation like Emily or Mark from Uncle John. That's the only way to have a secure life and a future. Don't dream anymore." But the most vehement opponent, the one who had the final say in determining my fate in the eyes of the family, was Uncle John Vance, my father's eldest brother, a retired university professor who had always considered himself the custodian of the family's core values. Uncle John viewed my decision as an insult, an unacceptable rebellion. "This girl disregards family traditions," he loudly declared at a family gathering. "She's lazy, doesn't want to study properly, just wants to take shortcuts to make money." What a disappointment. The other aunts and uncles who always listened to Uncle John and wanted their children to be role models for the other children in the family also joined in criticizing and mocking me. They constantly compared me to their well-behaved, studious children. Look, my daughter Emily just received a full scholarship to Harvard, and Mark is already a sophomore at Stanford. They are the future of this family, not some jobless vagabond like Mia. That fateful family gathering took place on Thanksgiving, a day that should have been filled with warmth and love. But for me, it was a trial where I was the only defendant and all my loved ones were the prosecutor and the judge. My decision not to go to college was once again dissected, analyzed, and mercilessly condemned. In front of a large group of relatives, from my elderly grandparents to my young cousins, Uncle John Vance, with a stern face and a steely voice, delivered the final verdict. If this Amelia girl still stubbornly follows the wrong path, refuses to listen to the advice of adults, refuses to study properly to have a decent future. He looked straight at me, his eyes cold. Then from today, the Vance family will no longer have a granddaughter named Amelia Vance. She will be a shame, a stain on our entire family. We will not accept someone who ruins the reputation that our ancestors worked so hard to build. Uncle John's words were like sharp knives stabbing straight into my young heart. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I tried to hold them back, not letting them see my weakness. Others in the family did not miss the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. "Without a university degree, what good can you do?" one aunt sarcastically said. "You will soon fail miserably and have to ask your family for money again." Another uncle pouted. "Don't you dare come back here after you fail and shamelessly depend on everyone." Another aunt concluded with a contemptuous tone. My parents at first tried to say a few words to defend their daughter weakly, but under the great pressure of the whole family and my stubbornness in not changing my decision, they gradually became silent. They did not dare to confront Uncle John, did not dare to go against the wishes of the whole family. They chose to bow their heads, accept the fate of their unruly daughter, and even agreed with the criticisms to save face for themselves so as not to be considered unable to raise children. They felt extremely ashamed and disappointed for having a different child, a child who had disgraced them in front of the whole family. From that day on, I was completely disowned. The entire Vance family treated me like a stranger, a sinner. They no longer invited me to important family events such as weddings, anniversaries, or weekend gatherings. They didn't call to ask how I was not a word of encouragement. I seemed to have become invisible to them. My parents also limited their contact with me, and the atmosphere in the house became extremely heavy and tense. They seemed disappointed, helpless, and perhaps a little abandoned. I was deeply hurt and in extreme pain because my loved ones, the people I once respected and trusted, turned their backs on me just because I dared to choose a different path, a path that did not follow the model they had set. But strangely enough, that injustice, those harsh and contemptuous words, could not extinguish the flame of passion and will within me. On the contrary, it fueled my determination, resilience, and a strong desire to succeed at all costs, not only to fulfill my dreams, but also to prove to all of them that they were wrong, that the path I chose was not a dead end. During those difficult and lonely days, fortunately, I was not completely alone. I had Samira Jones, my best friend from high school, a true friend, the only person who believed in my vision, in my ability, and was always by my side, encouraging and supporting me unconditionally. Samira was not rich. Her family was just ordinary workers, but she had a kind heart and an optimistic spirit. When my whole family disowned me, Samira let me stay in her small apartment, shared with me every meal, every joy, every sadness. She helped me find the first information about starting a business, and sometimes stayed up all night with me to pack the first orders. Samira was a great source of spiritual encouragement, a solid support that kept me from falling down. After that fateful family reunion, the atmosphere at home became unbearable. Every look, every word from my parents was like a needle stabbing into my self-esteem. I felt like I no longer belonged there, no longer a part of the Vance family. I decided to leave home to walk the path I had chosen by myself, even though I knew it would be extremely difficult. My parents perhaps felt relieved when I made that decision. They did not hold me back, nor did they object. They just gently said, "You are an adult, now take responsibility for your own life. Just go experience it yourself, and then you will realize your mistakes." I left with a small suitcase containing a few sets of clothes, an old laptop, the small savings I had saved from my part-time job during high school, and a little money Samira had slipped into my hand for startup capital. My luggage also contained tears of hurt, but above all, an iron will and a strong belief in the future. The first days of independence were extremely difficult. I rented a small, damp room in a low-income neighborhood far from the luxury and glitz of the Vance family's residences. I started building the online platform Artisan Bloom Collective from scratch. I did everything myself, from wandering to craft villages across the states to find and convince talented but struggling artisans to join my platform, meticulously and carefully photographing each product, writing emotional introductions about the story behind each work and each artisan, learning how to build a website, manage orders and take care of customers, and personally packing each item and taking it to the post office to send it. There were nights when I stayed up all night in front of my computer with only a few slices of bread and a cheap cup of coffee. There were days when I faced harsh rejection from skeptical artisans or unfair competition from larger rivals. Financial difficulties were always a constant pressure. There were times when I felt like giving up, wanting to go back to my family to apologize, accepting to follow the path they had laid out for me. But then the image of Samira with her encouraging smile, the image of the old artisans with eyes shining with hope when I came to them, and the harsh words of Uncle John and my relatives appeared again, giving me strength. I was not allowed to fall. While attending a small craft fair in Vermont where I was trying to find new artisans, my unique idea and burning passion caught the attention of Mr. Robert Chen. Mr. Chen is an Asian-American venture capitalist, a visionary with a special appreciation for traditional cultural values and sustainable creativity. He saw in Artisan Bloom Collective not only a potential business model, but also a humanitarian mission, a way to preserve and develop the gradually disappearing crafts. Mr. Robert Chen decided to invest a large amount of capital in my company, and at the same time became a strategic advisor who showed me the right direction and valuable business lessons. "Mia," he told me, "you have a kind heart and a sharp business mind. Just stick to the path you have chosen. The world needs people like you." With Mr. Chen's financial investment and strategic direction, Artisan Bloom Collective has grown wings. Our platform has grown rapidly, attracting thousands of artisans from across the United States and many other countries around the world. Millions of customers have come to us to own unique, high-quality, handcrafted products that are imbued with a personal touch and cultural story. My company not only provides a stable income and a better life for thousands of artisans, helping them promote their products to the global market, but also plays an important role in preserving, maintaining, and developing traditional crafts that are at risk of being lost. We also expand into related fields such as organizing handicraft workshops, building cultural tours to experience craft villages, and investing in other e-commerce projects with sustainability and social responsibility criteria. And then Artisan Bloom Collective became a real empire, a brand worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a name known and admired all over the world. And I, Amelia Mia Vance, the girl who was once disowned and chased away by her entire family for the crime of not going to college, became a self-made millionaire, a young entrepreneur with great influence, an inspiration for millions of young people who dare to think differently, dare to do differently, dare to follow their own path. I was invited to speak at major economic forums, received many prestigious awards for innovation, social responsibility, and the leadership role of women in business. And now, at this lavish charity gala hosted by the Artisan Bloom Collective, the people who once turned their backs on me, the people who once considered me an embarrassment, were standing there trying to jostle to get close to me, to shake my hand, to take a photo with me. My parents, George and Linda Vance, looked older, but also somewhat relieved. Uncle John Vance, who had loudly declared that he had disowned me, was now the most active. He tried to take my hand and introduce me to his rich, powerful friends with a proud voice as if I were his great achievement. Here, let me introduce to you my beloved niece, Amelia Vance, a talented, intelligent, and extremely successful young businesswoman. She is the pride of the entire Vance family. Bachins. The other aunts also gathered around, praising and exclaiming as if they had never said those harsh, contemptuous words to me in the past. They tried to recall distant memories, vague family connections to prove that they always loved and trusted me. Seeing their 180-degree change in attitude, I didn't feel happy nor angry. There was only a little surprise at first, which quickly turned into a strange calmness. The pain of the past, although not completely gone, was no longer strong enough to hurt me. Instead, there was a confidence, a steadfastness of someone who had gone through too many storms, standing firmly on their own 2 feet. And perhaps there was also a bit of pity for their short-sightedness and pragmatism. I was no longer the weak, vulnerable, tearful Mia of 15 years ago. I kept my face professional and polite, a polite smile on my lips, but there was a distance and a hint of irony in my eyes that perhaps only observant people could detect. I didn't appear too happy, nor too surprised by their appearance. I greeted each person politely, but without being overly friendly or enthusiastic. When Uncle John Vance tried to show off me to his friends, I just smiled, then calmly but meaningfully replied, "I'm glad Uncle John still remembers this lost, futureless niece." I always thought that in the eyes of the Vance family, someone without a college degree like me had no right to be called pride. My words made Uncle John and the people around him feel a little embarrassed and confused. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, didn't want to cause a scandal right at this important party, but I also didn't want them to easily forget what had happened, didn't want them to think that I had completely forgotten the past. I didn't spend too much time with them. I skillfully turned my attention to other important guests, business partners, true friends, and especially the artisans I deeply respected with whom I built the Artisan Bloom Collective. Faced with my deliberate indifference and my subtle but profound reminders, the Vance family especially, Uncle John felt extremely humiliated and embarrassed. Their goal of infusing their reputation seeking benefits from my success, and perhaps even wanting to redeem easily, could not be achieved as they wished. My parents then tried to find an opportunity to talk to me privately. They cried, they apologized, they expressed deep regret for what had happened in the past, for not trusting me, not supporting me, and for letting family pressure hurt me. "Mia, we know we were wrong." My mother took my hands. Her voice choked. Please forgive us. We are really proud of you, more proud than anyone in the world." The greatest punishment for them, perhaps, is not my revenge, but my outstanding success, which has convincingly proven that the path I have chosen is completely correct and that their concepts and prejudices are wrong and short-sighted. The fact that they have to fight to get back the granddaughter they once heartlessly disowned is a bitter punishment in terms of honor and conscience. As for the Vance family in general, I decided to keep a polite distance. I would not let them exploit my fame or fortune for their own purposes. I might attend a few important family events as a formality, if invited sincerely and respectfully, but there would be no more close ties, no more ties. Uncle John, ladies and gentlemen, I might say on occasion, the honor of a family is not just about the college degrees hanging on the wall, but also about character, kindness, and real contributions to society. I have created my own honor in my own way. As for my parents, this is the most complicated and difficult relationship. I had a frank and sincere talk with them. I told them clearly about the hurt and pain I had suffered over the years. I also listened to their explanations and apologies. I can forgive them to some extent. After all, they were the ones who gave birth to me, who raised me in my early years before the tragedy happened. But that forgiveness does not mean that I can completely erase the past or return to a close, trusting relationship as if nothing had happened. I can understand the pressure you must have felt from your family, I told them, but I can never forget the feeling of being turned away by the whole world, the feeling of being abandoned by my own parents. It takes time, a lot of time, to rebuild trust, if that is even possible. I might help my parents financially if they are truly in trouble and show sincere repentance, but I will not let them interfere in my life or important decisions again. The line has been drawn clear and definite. The charity gala ended successfully. I continued my work, focusing on the guests, the partners, the artisans that I truly appreciated and loved. The Vance family with their complex faces were just blurry figures receding into the back of the lavish banquet room. I look back on my thorny yet proud journey from a young girl rejected and chased away by her entire family for daring to follow her own path to a successful businesswoman, an inspiration to millions. I am proud of my choices, my determination, and what I have accomplished. I am grateful to Samira Jones, my only friend who has always been there for me, believed in me, and supported me through the darkest and most difficult times. I am grateful to Mr. Robert Chen, my teacher and mentor, who saw the potential in me and gave me the opportunity to change my life. I will continue to develop the Artisan Bloom Collective, expand the mission of supporting talented artisans around the world, and promote sustainable, socially and environmentally responsible e-commerce. I may establish a charity fund in my name to support young people with unique startup ideas who dare to think differently, dare to do differently, dare to go against the stereotypes and prejudices of the majority. They used to say I was the shame of the family just because I didn't have a college degree, but I proved to the world that the value of a person does not lie in the degrees hanging on the wall, does not lie in following the predetermined paths. The value of a person lies in passion, in creativity, in dedication, and in the ability to create their own path to create true values for life. And that is the real legacy, the greatest pride that I want to leave not only for the Vance family, but for the whole world. When your entire family has turned their backs on you and disowned you for making a choice that deviates from family tradition and now competes to take you back when you're successful and wealthy, how will you react? Is Mia Vance's decision the best solution, one that maintains self-respect, shows maturity, and a little necessary tolerance? Should you completely cut ties with them, or should you give them, especially your parents, a chance to make amends and heal? Even if only partially, share your views and feelings about this story.